The docks of Port Bramble slept under a wash of moonlight. Only the sea moved, whispering against the hulls of anchored ships, tugging at the ropes like a restless dream. Aboard the Heart's Shadow, Captain Bonanza sat alone in her cabin, a silhouette framed by lamplight, every inch the legend the children whispered about. Her eyes gleamed with a pale, mercurial silver, unreadable as still water. A midnight shade of plum colored her lips, the hue deep and deliberate, like a secret kept too long. She wore a bright yellow jacket, rich and golden in the flicker of lantern light, offset by dramatic, winged eyeliner that swept outward into sharp, bat-like points. Amber eyeshadow shimmered faintly above her lids, echoing the glow of distant lanterns at sea. Her eyes fixed on the star chart spread before her, the parchment yellowed and salt-stained. Constellations twisted across it like veins of silver in old bone, some marked in a language no sailor dared speak aloud. A faint draft stirred the corners, and for a heartbeat, the ink seemed to move, stars drifting, rearranging themselves in silence. The lantern guttered. Shadows crawled up the walls like tidewater. Bonanza didn't flinch. Her gloved finger traced a route that ended nowhere, or everywhere, along a stretch of sea marked only by a single word. Azure. Outside, the ropes groaned and the timbers answered, as though the ship itself were listening. Bonanza leaned back in her chair, the lamplight catching on the brass fittings of her coat. A faint smile ghosted her lips, the kind that spoke of secrets only the sea could tell. In the stillness, the faint ticking of a compass filled the air. It rested near her hand, its needle spinning lazily, refusing to choose a direction.
Still lost,
she murmured, voice low and rough as storm foam.
Or perhaps, still waiting.
From somewhere beyond the porthole, the foghorn moaned, long, mournful, almost like a voice calling her name. She glanced toward the cabin window. Through the glass, the moon hung low over the harbor, its reflection trembling across the dark water. Somewhere out there, a bell tolled, once, twice, distant and hollow. Meanwhile, on the dock close by, were 3 children. Jack, sharp-faced and wiry, gripped a splintered stick as though it were a sword. He wore a worn naval coat, far too big for him, sleeves rolled to the elbow, brass buttons dulled by sea salt. It once belonged to a real sailor, or so he claimed, but the lining was torn and patched with canvas scraps. Beneath it, a striped undershirt, faded from black and white to grey and yellow, perpetually smelled faintly of rope tar. His tattered trousers, cut off unevenly at the calves, were tied with twine instead of a belt. Around his neck hung a broken spyglass lens on a bit of string. His boots didn't match, one cracked leather, one cloth, both stolen and mended poorly, but he strutted as if they were made of gold. Lily, all teeth and mischief, the spark that made trouble look like magic. She wore a red velvet waistcoat, frayed at the edges but still dazzling in color, stolen from a traveling magician and worn proudly over a striped corset top that might once have been part of a costume. Her knee-length breeches, patched in a dozen colors, gave her the air of a jester or a runaway performer. Around her waist hung a rope belt strung with trinkets, a bent spoon, a stolen coin, a shark tooth, and a heart-shaped charm. Her hair was tied in messy pigtails with bright ribbons that didn't match, one pink, one blue. She wore fingerless gloves and went barefoot, her feet stained with salt and mud. Boots slow thieves down, she liked to say. Lily dressed like the world was her stage, and the docks, her audience. Lilith, small, observant, still believing in wonder despite everything. She wore a sea-green smock, thin and faded, its hem uneven from being cut down and restitched over the years. Over it, a short black jacket embroidered faintly with silver thread, the piece she'd stolen because it reminded her of the stars. A sailor's scarf, wrapped too many times around her neck, smelled faintly of brine and smoke. Her wool stockings were full of holes, and her bare feet were toughened by splinters and sand. Tucked behind one ear was a feather she'd found on the docks, black with a streak of teal. She believed it once belonged to a sea spirit. Lilith dressed like she was part of the tide.
"She's a nasty lady,"
muttered Jack, his hand twitching nervously around his stick.
"I heard she steals children and eats them for dinner,"
said Lily, eyes wide, her voice trembling between fear and delight. Lilith frowned.
Is that true?"
Her small voice carried both doubt and curiosity.
"Oh yes,"
Lily replied.
"Sharp teeth, long nails, and she drinks blood instead of tea."
Jack squinted through his spyglass at the ship.
Doesn't look like anyone's there. If we nick something shiny, it might fetch a fortune.
Fortune.
Lilith's grin gleamed in the dark.
Now you're speaking my language.
Lilith's stomach twisted.
This is a bad idea.
Oh, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Lily said, already skipping toward the dock. Jack followed, grinning over his shoulder.
Come back.
Lilith shouted, but they didn't listen, and she followed because her heart was too loyal for her own good, followed them aboard. The deck of the Heart's shadow creaked beneath their feet. The air smelled of salt, tar, and something sweet, like cinnamon and clove.
Keep quiet.
Jack hissed.
What if we get caught?
Lily whispered.
Then we run and leave Lilith behind to slow her down.
Jack said with a smirk. Lilith glared.
That's not funny.
But they weren't listening. They'd found an open chest near the mast, gold coins, trinkets, and glinting buttons catching the moonlight. They stuffed their pockets greedily. Lilith wandered instead toward the sails. They rose above her like vast, black wings, whispering softly as the night wind moved through them. She could swear they shimmered, faintly, like a night sky stitched into fabric. It was beautiful, alive. Back in the cabin, Captain Bonanza heard it, the soft squeak of a chest, then a whisper. Too quiet to be crew, too human to be wind. Bonanza's mouth curved into a slow, knowing smile.
Still restless, always are, this time of night.
She murmured, amused and full of mischief. Captain Bonanza rose. Her shadow stretched long across the cabin floor, spilling over the charts and the open logbook scrawled with notes no one else could read. The peacock feather in her hat caught the light, making the gold embroidery shimmer. Her coat whispered as she moved toward the door. Lilith was so captivated, she didn't notice her friend slip away into the shadows, or the slow, deliberate sound of a door opening behind her.
Curious little mouse, aren't you?
The voice was smooth, sweet, and sharp as a cutlass. Lilith froze. She dared to look over her shoulder. Captain Bonanza stood in the doorway, one pale hand trailing along the wooden frame as if the ship itself breathed beneath her touch. In the other, she held a goblet of red wine, its surface catching the lamplight like liquid fire. The glow shimmered across her yellow jacket, gold trim flickering like embers on dark water. Her hair, dark brown and slightly unkempt, spilled around her shoulders in loose waves, thick and wild, whipping in the midnight breeze. Her wide-brimmed hat veiled her brow, leaving the rest of her face caught between light and darkness, adding to her sinister mood and emphasizing her commanding presence. Lilith ran. Her small feet thudded against the deck, the gangplank in sight, but in 2 strides, Bonanza was there. A hand closed around her shoulder, firm, but not cruel.
Now, running off. That's dreadfully rude, little one.
Murmured the captain, her voice a dark purr.
I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me.
Lilith gasped. Her heart hammered like a trapped bird. Bonanza's brow arched.
Hurt you? My dear, do I look like a woman who eats children for dinner?
Lilith hesitated. Then, with trembling honesty.
Maybe lunch.
Silence, then Bonanza laughed, rich and thunderous.
Lunch. You're intriguing, little mouse. You have courage enough to jest when you should faint. What's your name?
Lilith.
She whispered, her voice quivering.
A fine name, strong. Suits a girl who stares at my sails instead of stealing my gold.
Lilith blinked.
You saw that?
Bonanza smiled.
A captain sees everything on her ship.
She straightened, offering a hand.
Come, little one. You look half-starved.
Lilith hesitated. She wasn't stupid. Her thoughts raced, was this a siren's call? If she stepped into the monster's lair, she might never come out. But the captain hadn't hurt her, and she hadn't eaten all day. Lilith's eyes fell upon the glass goblet, its contents half empty. Bonanza let out a soft, knowing sigh, the kind that seemed to carry the weight of old storms. She could see the fear in the girl's eyes and the thoughts flickering just behind them.
I'm sure you've heard many tales about me.
I've heard stories, yes, but never a true name. They call you many things, some flattering, like Mistress of the Tides or Guardian of Destiny, and others far darker, like Soul Eater, the Bleak Water Oracle, or Salt Blood Siren.
Ah, yes. Stories.
Bonanza breathed the word like a sigh, though her smile never reached her eyes.
The townsfolk weave myths from shadows. Fear makes cowards of them all.
She tipped her glass, watching the wine swirl like blood, catching the lantern light.
One tale claims I'm a wandering vampire, tearing out the hearts of children bold enough to stray near my tide-bound home.
Her gaze sharpened until it pinned Lilith like a blade of moonlight.
But listen closely, sweetheart.
She leaned in, her voice soft as silk and sharp as a threat.
People fear the things they cannot control, and the things they cannot name.
Straightening, she rose to her full height, a silhouette carved from stormlight and quiet thunder.
My true name is Bonanza, captain of the heart's shadow. I am not thirsty for blood.
Silence fell, heavy, drifting, settling like ash. Then, softly, inevitably, she continued.
I thirst for justice, for truth, and for adventure.
A dark, living flame ignited in her eyes, equal parts storm and starlight.
I follow the tide's wild song wherever it dares to lead, sometimes toward vengeance, sometimes toward glory.
Lilith slowly reached out and placed her hand in the captain's open palm. The captain's cabin wasn't anything like the old stories. No bones, no blood, no cages for lost children. It was warm. Golden. The air smelled of cinnamon, old books, and salt. Maps covered the walls, not of oceans, but of stars. A great brass globe spun lazily in the corner, and a chart spread across the desk glittered faintly with constellations traced in black ink.
Sit. I'll get you a biscuit and some soup,
said Bonanza, gesturing to a small chair. Lilith obeyed, wide-eyed. Bonanza opened a tin and offered her a round shortbread cookie.
And perhaps some tea, before I devour you whole.
Lilith bit the cookie cautiously. It was buttery and soft.
You tricked me. You're trying to fatten me up.
My dear,
Bonanza said, pouring tea into 2 delicate cups.
I am a collector of rare treasures, stories, stars, sails that catch more than mere wind. Children, I find, are too salty, and you are far too skinny.
She gave Lilith's arm a gentle poke.
You are roughly the weight of a particularly anxious seagull. Look at you. Barely a bite. I'd need at least 5 of you to make a proper meal.
Lilith giggled, and Bonanza's lips curved.
Now tell me, why were you staring at my sails?
They looked like the night sky.
Lilith whispered, the hot tea warming her core and melting away her fear. Bonanza nodded approvingly.
You see beauty where others see plunder. That's a gift, Lilith, and rarer than gold.
Outside, faint voices rose, Jack and Lily, realizing their stolen treasure was nothing but fool's gold and brass buttons.
Your friends are learning a lesson. But you've earned something better.
She reached into the pocket of her yellow jacket and drew out a small brass compass. Its needle spun lazily, never settling north.
It doesn't point where others go.
She said softly, placing it in Lilith's palm.
It turns toward your fiercest desire. Chase it, and you'll never drift astray.
Lilith stared at it, wonder blooming behind her eyes.
Now,
said Bonanza, her tone shifting, rich and theatrical.
The world expects a villain, so I'll give them one.
Lilith suddenly choked on her tea.
Villain? What do you mean?
I can't have my carefully cultivated terror undone in a single evening. So we'll stage a little scene. I'll pursue you off my ship, and the world will be none the wiser.
But I don't want to leave. You are the first person to show me kindness in a long time. There is nothing for me here. I want to sail with you, see the world. I crave justice, truth, and adventure,
she said, mirroring the captain's own words. The captain's eyes softened, that rare flicker of surprise breaking through her calm. Bonanza regarded Lilith in silence. For a long, aching moment, the air between them was full of the hum of the tide.
Careful, love,
she murmured.
The sea keeps what it claims. You have a fire in you. It's dangerous, you know. The sea loves to swallow fire.
I'm not afraid.
Lilith replied, clutching the compass tight.
Not anymore.
Something flickered behind Bonanza's silver eyes, pride, perhaps, or regret. She turned toward the porthole, where the moon was sinking into mist.
Perhaps in another life, when the tides are kinder,
she said quietly. Lilith's breath caught.
You remind me of someone I lost long ago. I won't let the sea take you too.
But
the captain raised a gloved hand.
You're not ready for the sea. But keep the compass. It will look after you. And when you're older, You'll know when it's time to find me.
A low fog rolled in from the harbor, thick and pale as poured milk. Captain Bonanza straightened, her yellow coat swishing as she moved. The warmth in her expression melted away, replaced by a grand, fearsome confidence. She snapped the cookie tin shut and set down her cup with a clean, decisive click.
Well.
She grinned, her voice deepening into something theatrical and wicked.
Time for the world's favorite monster to make her grand appearance.
Bonanza winked.
Best performances happen without rehearsal.
She swept toward the cabin door, hat angled sharp, her eyes lost beneath its brim. With one gloved hand, she blew out the lantern, darkness swallowing the room. They stepped onto the deck. Lilith took one last look at the midnight black sails billowing above. Bonanza inhaled, then roared.
Thief on my deck.
The shout cracked across the harbor like cannon fire. Jack and Lily shrieked somewhere in the mist. Bonanza spun, pointing dramatically at Lilith, her coat flaring like a pair of golden wings.
You dare sneak onto my ship. You dare touch my treasures.
Lilith forced herself to look frightened, though wonder glimmered quietly in her eyes.
I didn't mean.
Silence.
Bonanza thundered forward, her steps long and rolling like something ancient waking beneath the waves. The timbers of the ship groaned in protest, tilting as if the vessel itself wanted to shrink away from her looming presence. Even if the captain was performing, the fear she inspired was real. A cold prickle crawled up Lilith's spine as Bonanza loomed closer. Bonanza slammed her boot against the deck.
Scourge of Port Bramble, begone from my ship.
Jack and Lily screamed again, terrified. Bonanza lowered her voice to a hiss only Lilith could hear.
Now run, little mouse. Make it look good.
Lilith darted toward the gangplank, hair whipping behind her. Bonanza stalked after her with measured ferocity, calling out for the whole harbor to hear.
If you step back aboard the Heart's Shadow again, little thief, I'll turn you into a breakfast snack.
Lilith's feet hit the dock. She looked back, just once. Bonanza stood at the rail, her silhouette glowing gold in the moonlight, one gloved hand resting over her heart in a gesture no onlooker would notice. Then she barked.
And don't think I won't know if you try it again.
She tipped her hat, the faintest smile ghosting across her lips, and melted back into the fog as if she'd never been there at all. On the dock, Jack and Lily stood frozen, staring, faces pale. Lilith, they cried as they ran to her. She was deeply saddened by the captain's refusal to let her stay. As the icy wind nipped at her toes, she looked over her shoulder, but the Heart's Shadow was already drifting away, its black sails gleaming as it vanished into the mist without a sound. Dawn unfurled across the water, the surface shimmering like molten gold, a promise whispered by the sea itself. Lilith stood at the edge of the dock, the compass warm in her palm, its needle restless. A soft wind stirred, lifting her hair. On it rode the faint scent of cinnamon and clove, the lingering ghost of a ship lost to the fog. She smiled through her tears. She breathed, barely louder than the tide.
Someday, I'll find you.
Thank you for joining me for this story. I hope you enjoyed the journey. Like and subscribe for more epic audiobooks. Hoist the sails and follow me channelside for more tales of danger and delight.